Hi, my name is Ken Reimer, and I'm an assistant professor in the Faculty of Education. My area is inclusive education, and I'm here to talk about a project that Experiential Learning Fund really helps support me in creating and bringing here to Winnipeg, Canada. It's an endeavor that initiated in Cambridge University, and it's called Designing Our Tomorrow, or DOT, and we decided to work with the Faculty of Education at the University of Cambridge and the Department of Engineering, and so I'd just like to share with you just some highlights of bringing DOT to Canada and this unique collaboration thanks to the EL Fund. So the purpose of DOT, or Designing Our Tomorrow, is really based on something called empathic engineering, and empathic engineering means that you take students and you give them an idea of what interaction with products that we typically take for granted or use in everyday life, and how those can be very difficult to people with some disabilities. For example, DOT focuses on how everyday products, take salt and pepper shakers, are used by an ever-increasing aging population, and the difficulties of using something as simple as salt and pepper shakers. And so, based on empathic engineering, students first get these gloves to act as simulators as restrictive hand movement. They get goggles that simulate difficulties in seeing, and then they try and interact with everyday products. Once they begin to develop an understanding or an empathy to how difficult some of these everyday products are to use, then students are taught all the principles and processes of good design. And students go through a bit of a workshop and several lessons where students learn how to lead a design of creating a better product and thereby a better world. The final part is where students begin to actually design products that might be more accessible or easier to use for, well, in this case, an aging population or people with certain hand or visual impairments. And so this is about bringing design to high school students. Their motto at DOT was equipping every child with the thinking tools to solve problems in a complex world. Now, how did this come about? Well, DOT Canada is an academic collaboration between the University of Cambridge and the University of Winnipeg. In particular, the Faculty of Education at Cambridge, the Department of Engineering at Cambridge, as well as the Faculty of Education here at the University of Winnipeg. The aim is to conduct world-class research. That's the aim of our DOT Canada endeavor, to conduct world-class research to help transform education with a particular emphasis on tackling disadvantage. We're looking to set up a series of projects to develop a body of work with an emphasis on depth of impact as well as breadth of impact. Some specific initiatives that we are pursuing is to research the impact of these DOT boxes, because Designing Our Tomorrow comes in the form of a box, and how that works in schools. We're looking at how to make DOT sustainable in different geographical and cultural contexts, which is why the folks in England were very, very interested in bringing this to Canada and seeing what students in Canada thought about this. We want to understand the value of DOT with regard to the PRISM framework. Now, PRISM framework is a model developed by Dr. Joseph Renzulli in America, and he has worked with our dean at the Faculty of Education, Ken McCluskey, which is why this connection seemed to take place. They were very interested in the PRISM framework that Ken McCluskey had worked on with Dr. Renzulli, and we were very interested in bringing design principles from Cambridge here to Winnipeg and to Canada. And finally, we want to set up an international conference eventually to draw together leading researchers in the field of creativity and design and inclusive education. Who is involved in this project? Well, from the University of Cambridge, we've got Bill Nickel from the Faculty of Education. We've got Ian Hosking and Melanie Smith from the Department of Engineering. From the University of Winnipeg, I am the lead investigator, Ken Reimer, and then, of course, Faculty of Education Dean Ken McCluskey is the lead advisor on this. So what are we doing? Well, each project will be viewed on a case-by-case basis against broad aims and bring in other collaborators as appropriate. When we brought the initial pilot of DOT Canada to Winnipeg's Sisler High School, of course, was a partner in this, and I want to thank George Heshka, the principal there, and Jamie Leduc, the department head of IT, for bringing this to Sisler High School. We had Eric Poole from Rochester's Mayo Clinic, who was a keen observer and facilitator in this, collaborator. And we also had Dr. Allison Dart, who is a nephrologist, pediatric nephrologist at the Health Science Center, who also participated in the training and was an advisor in this project. We began in Winnipeg. We needed to begin in Winnipeg. We needed assistance bringing this to Winnipeg. Bringing something from England to Winnipeg is not a cheap endeavor. And that's why I have to thank the EL Fund for being such a generous sponsor in this project and taking a chance on a relatively new researcher like myself and assisting us with some very valuable resources. Okay, again, the intent of DOT is to equip every child with thinking tools to solve problems in a complex world. So, what we did was we brought DOT to Winnipeg with the intended purpose eventually of bringing this to Manitoba and to Canada. And we wanted to give it a shot before we began some more formalized research on this endeavor and what it feels like and what it how it works in Canada. And so we wanted to try it once just to see what people thought of it here in our country. What you're seeing on the slides here are students at Sisler High School. What we ended up doing was we had the folks at Cambridge do 2 half-day workshops with teachers at Sisler High School, along with a project manager from Mayo Clinic, that's Dr. Eric Poole, and Dr. Allison Dart also joined the teachers in the online training from Cambridge to Winnipeg. We conducted the 2-day training workshop so that teachers knew how to implement the DOT box in April of 2018. And we also intentionally brought in several students that came in and did the training along with the teachers. We thought that this would be a good model of really involving students. At the core of DOT is extracting and creating a forum so that pupils or students have voice. We really wanted students to be able to have voice, and we thought they needed to be involved at all aspects, including teacher training. And so we had several students who we knew were going to participate in the week-long DOC workshop, also participate in the teacher training. They could extract and sneak out information to the students so that they knew what they were being prepared for. We have several pictures up here. After the 2 days of workshop, we decided to run a week-long program at Sisler High School, and we had 60 students from grades 9 to 12, as well as several post-high students, participate in a week-long challenge where they studied the effects of limited mobility, especially in an aging population, and interacting with everyday products. In this case, it was salt and pepper shakers. They spent the first couple days understanding the difficulties in using these products when you have limited mobility or limited sight. And then they learned about design and project management. And then what the students did was they began ultimately to create better salt and pepper shakers. They created some models for these, and then they presented it to their students in the hopes of one day perhaps some of these students will bring their products to the marketplace at some point. And so I think that's about it. We have a short video that I'd like to show you that the students, it was 100% made by the students of Sisler, and perhaps this will shed light on what the week-long workshop for DOT Canada actually looked like. Once again, I just really want to thank the EL Fund for their generous contribution, and we really appreciated it. Without some of these startup funds, these ideas, they really don't come to fruition, and so I thank you for your help.
Hey, what's going on right now?
Oh, hey, we're designing art tomorrow. Want to take a look?
The major issue that the world's facing is that at this current point we have over 600 million people at the age of 60 plus, and by 2050 we're going to be around 2.1 billion people. This is a challenge because with an aging population, we need to redesign products that are in our everyday use, such as salt and pepper shakers, which we're using today.
The main two objects that students used in the Designing Our Tomorrow's investigation were a set of gloves that went over their hands that simulated what it would be like to have arthritis and restricted mobility in the hands, and goggles that were worn that simulated what it would be like to have impairment of the vision.
I would say the hardest thing to use was the bottle opener, because I had my limited dexterity. I was forced to use my palms for that one, so it really hurt my fingers and my palms just opening the bottle.
Designing for inclusivity means designing for the majority of the population. It means from the very beginning of the design process, thinking about making it useful for most people rather than just a narrow segment of the population.
We're so used to seeing things in a certain way. This item is only used for this item, and to see it in a different way so that can be used in a different way is really challenging. And so the students are trying to see different things in their life that may be associated with one thing and then trying to associate with solving the problem right now, which is a salt and pepper shaker.
For our design and our product, we really wanted to incorporate the idea of having the salt and pepper as one. We came up with a triangle design, trying to keep it minimal and aesthetically pleasing to the eye, but still trying to find a comfortable way of holding it for individuals with limited dexterity.
We were trying to make an easy, clean way of making a salt shaker. So it's similar to like a salt pellet where you could just easily take it out and just grind it into your food.
A lot of cool stuff is happening around here. Look at that!
So the reason why Sisler IDM students are involved in this workshop is the fact that they have been practicing STEAM education for the last 3 to 4 years. STEM is a fantastical way of redesigning products, but adding the art into it takes their learning to the next level.